Welcome to Season 3 of You're Not Alone with Townsend. My name is Townsend, and if you've followed my journey, you know that I'm not only a musician, but I'm also a mental health advocate. I use my platform to help spread awareness, love, build community, and simply help people feel less alone in their struggles. In the last couple of years, I've had the chance to interview people from all over the world about a huge variety of mental health topics, and I cannot thank each of you enough for helping us continue to shine a light on the world. Every other week this season, we're bringing you the best interviews we've had. Make sure to like and follow this podcast if you're enjoying it. And if you want to keep up with everything we've got going, follow us on socials at Townsend T Music. Hope you enjoy. What is up, guys? Welcome to this episode of You're Not Alone with Townsend. I'm so excited that you have joined again to listen to another amazing episode. Today, we're going to be chit-chatting with Miss Lara. I saw her on the news, and she instantly sparked my interest. So obviously, I do what I do, and I got on social media, looked her up, and she's a huge advocate for ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. So today, that's what we're going to be chit-chatting about. But Lara, I like to let my guests kind of introduce themselves. So introduce your name, your job, location, whatever you want my listeners to know about you.
Sure. Well, I'm a woman. I wear many hats. I have 7-year-old triplets, number one, so that's a big job. And then I have a 14-year-old. But I also run the ALS in Wonderland Foundation here in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I'm really, really passionate about it. We are all volunteers, including myself. I'm a former model way back, way back, many, many moons ago. So I used to model in New York City, Miami, and Los Angeles. But I've also really been a big advocate of giving back, because that's what fulfills me. And that no matter how low I've been at any point in my life, helping someone else makes me feel better and brings me joy. So I started a company called Team Up World when I was about 21, 22 years old, many
Wow.
moons ago again. And what we do is start nonprofits for different individuals. And I kind of, what I ended up doing eventually, I was starting them just for anybody that would call and ask me, like, hey, I need help. I have this passion. I really want to start an organization. But I grew it into a business to start nonprofits for professional athletes, NBA, NFL players. So I have worked with a lot of different players in the past 20 years. But since I've been here in Little Rock, my main focus has been ALS in Wonderland.
Okay, I just learned so many new things. One, I wish I would have known about you when I was trying to form the You're Not Alone Foundation and everything
Yeah,
that goes into that, because
yeah,
people listening have no idea. It's a huge hassle to try and file for a nonprofit and the
yes,
taxes and the paperwork. So
all of
thank
that.
you for that. Wow, how
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, we
Also,
do
at
all of
20
that.
years old, what in the world?
Yeah,
What 20-year-old is like, this is what I want to do?
well, because I was working with athletes and doing charity events for them, so I was already planning events for them. And then we would raise the money and we're like, where's this money going? And so a lot of times we would partner with organizations and the money would go to a specific organization, but then the guys would say, hey, I want my own thing. I want to be in control of where the money's going. In order to do that, you need to create your own 501c3
Yeah.
and your different programs and activities, and that's what we do. So,
Well, how cool. I love that
yeah.
so much. Also, the triplets, bless you.
Yes, there's 7.
Like, the
So,
fact that you have makeup and you don't have bags under your eyes, like, praise to you. That is
well,
amazing. I don't know
listen,
how you do it. I barely
thank
made it here, and I don't have children.
thank you. I did not sleep for the first 4 years of their life, and I've been getting a lot of sleep lately.
Yeah, I love it so much. Oh my
They
goodness.
they were
Okay,
coming
so
to my dad's bed a lot.
oh, I can only imagine. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's start with defining what ALS even is. What does that stand for? What does that look like?
Well, what it looks like is it's brutal, and
Okay.
that's the honest to God truth. It's brutal. It is the toughest disease I have ever witnessed in my life, and my father, Richard Blume, he's passed away. He had it, and that's how I know about it.
Are you enjoying this conversation? This project is funded by patrons and sponsors, so if you like what you hear and you'd like to help us continue changing lives in 2024, we would love to have you join the family. Reach out to us at townsendtmusic@hotmail.com if you'd like to be a sponsor, or hop on patreon.com/townsendtmusic to join the patron family. As a thank you, you're going to receive extra podcast questions and content every episode, discounts, exclusive content, and so much more. So join the family and let's continue changing lives.
But it's amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And most of us, we hear about ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. And many of us were introduced to ALS by the Ice Bucket Challenge. I'm sure
Yeah.
even if you didn't know what ALS was, you saw everybody pouring the water over their head looking ridiculous.
Yes, right.
Okay, so that brought ALS really to the forefront, and we've never had that kind of attention before, ever. And so really that year, I remember when that happened, and that was the same year that I actually got married too. And we did the Ice Bucket Challenge. We got married, and instead of gifts, I wanted everybody to donate money to ALS and Wonderland Foundation. So we actually had some seed money to start off with. So everybody that came to our wedding, friends and family, donated to the organization. So I was really excited about that. But what ALS does is it robs you of your muscles. And so eventually, you're a healthy person, you're working out every day. And I'm using my father as an example. He would ride his bike from West Little Rock to his office downtown, never sick a day in his life. So when he was diagnosed in 2009, I was like, oh, he's going to get better, because I didn't know anything about ALS, but there's no cure for ALS. There's some medicine for it. There's some treatments, but there's no cure at this time. So I'm thinking, oh, he's going to get better. My dad, he's never been sick before. Well, he literally started withering away, muscle atrophying. And the reason why, ALS patients are told they have 2 to 5 years to live. When you're diagnosed, the doctor looks at you, the neurologist, you have 2 to 5 years to live. And it varies. Some patients go quicker and some may last a little longer. My dad had it for 6 total years before he passed away. But he was really, really healthy and really in shape. And that's not the case for everybody. And he had great care as well. But his body, I saw it wither away, went from muscles to just a skinny man and nothing. And then unable to move, had to have somebody feed him, wipe his butt, everything. It takes your dignity away. So dealing with that with my father, and my dad was a really big advocate and loved to talk, and talk to everyone that had ALS as well. That's when we started the ALS and Wonderland Foundation together, and keeping it going in his honor.
That is amazing. So carrying on his legacy, I love that so much. That's
Yes.
wonderful. So you
Hmm.
knew nothing about ALS before your dad was diagnosed? Not
I
really.
not no, I knew nothing, and so I called my mom, she's an RN, and she knew a little bit. And I'm married to a physician, and even in medical school, he said they covered 1 page of ALS.
Yeah.
So it's not really, it's still considered a rare disease. And so a lot of people don't know about it unless you're a neurologist and that's something that you studied, or you're a family member that's actually dealt with it. I don't know if you've ever known anybody to have ALS and just to see the transition, but it's so tough just watching it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I have seen several. Some also have a master's in speech therapy. So it's something I saw pretty
Yep.
frequently in nursing homes and rehabs because I worked with
Yes.
adults. And like I said, it just robs you of everything. It's
Yeah.
awful to watch as
Mm.
an outsider because
Yeah.
also the last thing to go for a lot of these patients is their
Mhm.
thinking and their eye movement. And so by
Yeah.
the end, they're communicating with like an eye gaze board or something. It's
Yes.
just so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you know a lot about it. Yeah, the eye gazing computers is really actually amazing because it tracks their eyes, as you know, and then they can speak and their computer can speak. But they also have the voice banking as well. So if you have not lost your voice yet, then it's good to do that. So when your computer's speaking, it's your voice instead of the computer.
So cool. So cool.
Mhm.
Amazing. There's
Yeah.
actually a book that a man wrote and he wrote it all with his eye gaze board. I don't know
Oh, wow.
if you've seen that book, but amazing. Wrote the whole book using an eye gaze one letter at a time.
It's so tough. It is
Ooh,
so,
I can't even imagine. So you were
yeah.
talking about your dad is why you kind of did
Yes.
this, but what made you want to be so open about it? I feel like your social media, that's all you promote. And that, I mean, you're gung ho about it. So is this your full-time job is promoting ALS? I know you said you used to work with athletes and everything.
No, this is not my full-time job. I do marketing for my husband's practice. He's a gastroenterologist, so I do
Ooh,
that. And then I manage a lot of real estate in New York City. So I'm really, really busy. But
I don't know how you do it.
But ALS is my passion, and so I feel like, we all have a purpose and we all have a calling, and that is my passion. No, and I don't know what the future holds, but I know that no matter what, my hands will be in something with ALS, and I am hoping for a cure at some point in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's what we hope for. But there's just has to be a lot more money poured into ALS research.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, absolutely. So we
Mhm.
talked about there is not a cure, but are there ways to slow down the process?
So, yes, but we kind of don't know. So what
Yeah.
I mean by that is, and I'll give you an example. There's a medication, and I don't want to jack the name up, but it starts
Yeah.
with a R because there's not that many. You can look them up. But my dad was on it, and he actually stopped taking it because the doctors told him, you know what, we're really not sure if this works, but it's like 2 or 3 months to
Right.
extend your life. And when you tell a patient that, and the doctor's saying, "We're not really sure if it works," and they're being honest,
Sure.
but it's the way, they're just not feeling very hopeful that this particular medication can, really help them in what's 2 or 3 months, especially if
Yeah.
their life, the lifestyle is not the same anywhere, the quality of life.
Yeah, I imagine it affects this quality of life so much. When
Yeah.
your
Mhm.
dad, if it's okay, when your
Mhm.
dad passed away, what did
Mhm.
he look like in that moment? Like, what was he wheelchair bound? Was he talking? Was he
So
eating?
so interesting question. So he was ready to go, number 1, and he was
Yeah.
at peak, and a lot of patients are ready to go. The reason why they don't let go is because of people around them.
Oh,
And what I
yeah.
mean by that is, family members, they're worried about, are they gonna be okay? And their wife, their spouse, their husband, family members. And so after we told daddy that we're okay, he was ready to go. He said, "I'm ready
Wow.
to go home." And, he had a trach. He didn't want one, but he got one the last 2 months of his life, and everyone came and said goodbye to him, and he was a veteran. We took him to the
Wow.
VA hospital here in Little Rock, and they took the trach out. And we planned it. It was a date and everything, so we knew the day he was passing away, and we were in the room with him. Gave him lots of drugs, lots of morphine, but it's what he wanted. He
Yeah.
did not wanna live. He couldn't eat anymore. He couldn't he couldn't talk anymore. My dad
Yeah.
loved to talk. He was a
Yeah.
coach. So couldn't talk anymore, couldn't eat anymore, and he's like, "I'm just ready to go." And I didn't even know that the VA would do that, but they did. They took the trach out, and psychologists talked to him, a lot of doctors talked to him. It wasn't a quick process. They
Oh,
wanted to
I'm
make sure
sure
that's
not.
what he wanted.
Mhm.
Yes. But after they realized that's what he wanted, they took it out. And during that process, I will never forget being in that room. It was peaceful. Yes, it was sad because we're going to miss him physically, but I was happy for him because he was suffering so
Yeah.
much. Just he was a shell of a man. He wasn't what I remember, calling daddy, just active and always messing with me. Go work out. You need to go work out. You're not
Yeah.
going to be skinny forever.
Yeah, that's
So
right, girl. He knew that metabolism slows down. Your daddy
yes,
was right.
yes, and so yeah, he was always that guy, just very active and
Yeah.
promoting health and wellness, and to see him get ALS and wither away like that,
Mm.
it tells me it can happen to anyone,
Oh,
in
absolutely.
anyone. So,
Yeah,
mhm.
so he was wheelchair bound, not able to move much, had a trach. Was he using the eye gaze board, or
All he
was he
told
able to talk?
he's not really good with computers, so he told me to throw it in the ocean. We have an ocean here, we have a river, but so my dad, yeah, he's old school. I mean, he was almost 70 when he passed away, but he never used computers in his life.
Yeah,
Anything computer related, he had me do, so
there you go. Yeah, so he said, "No, thanks. I'll just go
well,
out the natural way."
it's there's a learning curve. Like if you already know how to use a computer and you're really good at it and you get ALS, that's one thing. But if you
Right.
have ALS and then you're trying to figure out how does this work, and it's not that simple.
Ooh,
It's
okay.
yeah, it's another level of frustration of, I don't know how to do this. I've never used the computer before. Now I've got to have somebody come out and teach me and train me and be patient with me, and so that's a really difficult part, especially with people like 65 and older.
Yeah. Well, that's a good
People that
thing
didn't
to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, people that didn't
Gosh.
grow up in the computer era. So,
Absolutely. Well, there's something people need to think about as well. Is ALS hereditary? You talked about it could happen to anybody. Do they know
yeah.
anything about how where it comes from?
Yes, so there's sporadic ALS, and which that's the most common ALS, but there's 5 to 10% of familial ALS. And so we don't see it too often. But and even if you carry the gene of familia, it doesn't mean you're going to get it, but it could be potentially, but the 5 to 10% of the cases for sure. But most of it's sporadic. A lot of times, and again, this is all just different research because they really still don't know. It
Mhm.
could be environmental. There's a lot of cases in Arkansas. I'm thinking
Mm.
of because the agriculture and all the stuff that they use on the rice and everything, and a lot of veterans get it. A lot of
Oh,
NFL players get it. And so my dad was in Vietnam, and as soon as he was diagnosed with ALS, they immediately gave him 100% disability.
yeah.
And I had no idea why. But when I started doing my research, I saw that there's a lot of veterans with ALS, and especially people that went overseas to fight.
Ah, interesting.
Mhm.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm. Like
goodness
Agent
gracious.
Orange, particularly,
Yeah,
people that were, around that. So they
interesting.
still
Yeah,
don't know. There's not an exact, I wish I could give you an exact answer. There's a lot of unknowns,
yeah.
right? Mhm.
Are there any statistics out there that are like, okay, this is what this looks like, other than the 5 to 10% familial?
So I will say this, so there's mostly so it's mostly it doesn't discriminate. There's not
Sure.
mostly anything. There's men and women,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of veterans that I see because we have a lot of veteran patients. Um, and I know, and I only deal with patients in Arkansas, in the state of Arkansas, but there's a lot of cases here, a lot of cases. So as soon we'll have patients pass away, and then as soon as someone passes away, I'll have a splurge of new patients come in.
Wow.
And I'm always excited to help them, but I'm sad that we have new patients because I'm
Yeah.
like, it's never ending and it's not going to be until we have a cure.
Yeah. So what do you
Yes.
think is holding back so much on the research? You think it's funding or because it's just not so common?
It's not so common. It's definitely funding because if you think of greed in pharmaceutical companies, when you're dealing with cancer and they raise millions and billions of dollars, well, we all know, everybody knows someone that has cancer. Everyone doesn't know someone that has ALS. If I'm in a room with 100 people, maybe 10 people raise their hand with ALS, but everybody in the room raises their hand if you know somebody with cancer. So I just think that people are not there's not a lot of awareness about it, and it's still considered rare. At any given time, there's about 30,000 Americans that have ALS. And
Okay.
so, but they go so quickly, it's so progressive. So 2 to 5 years. And so then you have the new splurge of patients come in. So it's very progressive. Um, there's I haven't had any patients that plateaued. I've read of stories of that happening, but I personally haven't had any that plateaued.
Wow. Goodness gracious.
Mhm.
So what's something, since you've seen so many people have this and go through this, what's something you wish people knew about ALS?
I think the biggest part is the emotional toll
Mm,
that it takes on the whole family, not
right.
just the patient. It is a family disease because if you had a person that was able-bodied, working, doing things for the family, and they relied on them, or just maybe someone to talk to. All of those things are taken away. Their voice, their ability to hug their grandchildren.
Mm,
So it affects so much. It affects the whole family. So the emotional toll is a big deal. And a lot of the patients end up dealing with depression and have to be on medicine for that. And then they're isolated too. If you're homebound, it's difficult to go places. You may want to, but it's too hard to get ready, get in your wheelchair, load into the wheelchair van. It's a whole process. It's not like how it used to be before you had ALS. Things are more difficult. Not impossible, but just difficult. So the emotional toll is a big thing that I wish people knew more about.
gosh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I always like to ask my guests, you're talking about the emotional turmoil and everything like that. I know that
Yes.
was hard going through with your dad, and I know seeing all
Yes.
these patients is probably a lot to carry. What does
Mhm.
self-care look like for you? Like, how do you recharge and take care of yourself?
Well, I will say this, my daddy, as I was telling you earlier, he was really into health and wellness. So I've been getting massages since I can remember.
Oh, wow.
So
I love it.
Lots of hot baths, and I get Thai massages probably once a week. Sometimes I miss a week, it depends, but sometimes I have a place I go to in New York and a place I go to here. Um, and just really I try to take some time for myself, and it's hard sometimes, especially with the kids. And I'm actually at my house right now and it's really quiet because as soon as they walk in, it's loud. So I'm appreciating just you and I talking in the
Yeah, I was about
silence.
to say it's about to get real loud in a minute.
Right. Well, no, not in a minute, in about an hour.
Okay.
They know what I'm doing right now. But I, just appreciating and feeling gratitude towards the small things because, you do see so much with ALS and you see the death and the sadness, but to appreciate the things that we all take for granted.
Mm.
Like I woke up this morning and I'm able to move my hands. I'm able to
Right.
move my hair back. Like,
Yeah.
that sounds really simple, right? Well, it's not for someone with ALS. I'm able to scratch my ear if it itches. And
Yeah.
so just to be grateful for everything that we're able to do and that we
Yeah.
have.
Gosh,
Mhm.
absolutely. And like I said earlier, they
Mhm.
again, they're figuring this out as it goes, but they used to think that your
Yeah.
brain was affected the very last and your eye movement. And so I can't imagine a lot of people call it locked in syndrome for that
Yes.
reason.
Yeah, so most of my patients are really, really sharp. Like their brain hasn't been affected at all, and that's the hard part about ALS because you can't move your body, but you know exactly what's going on, and that is frustrating. Me knowing that, and then I'll go see someone and their caregivers yelling at them because they think they don't
Oof.
understand. I'm like, no, they understand everything.
Yeah.
Their brain's still working completely fine. Like their body's gone, but their brain is still there,
Isn't
and so
that
they
crazy?
understand what you're saying. Yeah, and so that's the communication issue right there. But yeah, now there is a part of ALS where at the end it can
Mhm.
potentially, and I've had a couple patients like that where their mind was, I think it's called dementia ALS. I forgot the term, but it was really bad where their body was gone and their mind. You didn't know
Goodness,
what
goodness,
was
goodness.
what was going on with them, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's pretty rare. Frontal dementia, that's what it's called, FTD,
Mhm.
ALS.
Yeah.
And that is even more brutal because of the mind, and the patient that I did have, it was like talking to a little girl. She
Oh.
was so sweet because I met her before the FTD, because she had familial ALS,
Mm.
and then she got FTD, and then when I came to see her when she got FTD, it was like talking with a little girl. It's just so innocent,
Oh.
but she didn't know who I was, but her mind was completely gone.
Goodness, goodness, goodness.
Yes.
Like I said, those studies are
Mhm.
continuing. I have read differing
Yeah,
things saying, well, maybe there is a little cognitive decline, maybe not much, maybe
yeah,
not at all, unless you get that FTD.
depends.
So
Yeah,
they're still figuring things out with that, of course.
yes,
Laura, thank you so, so much for taking time out just to talk about this a little
yes.
bit. But where can people find more support and maybe more information about your foundation?
Sure. So they're gonna go to alsinwonderland.com, and we are also really active on all the socials. Well, not all of them, but Facebook and IG. I haven't got into TikTok yet, but
Yeah.
my 14-year-old daughter just told me yesterday it was banned, so I don't know what that means. I was
Not
like,
yet.
oh, not yet. Okay.
Yeah, no, girl, it's still going right now.
Okay, okay, it's still going. So anyway, we're on IG and Facebook, but
Yeah.
alsinwonderland.com. We update our website quite often.
Love it.
We just had our big annual soiree, which is a fashion show, and we did every year we do a different theme. This year was Willy Wonka theme, a world of pure imagination, and it was so amazing. And we honored 5 of our amazing ALS warriors during
Amazing.
the
I
show.
love it. Thank you so, so much for all that you do and for taking time. Like I said, I know you're crazy busy. So the fact
Mhm,
that you were willing to hop on here for my listeners, it means so, so much. Thank you.
mhm, mhm. You're welcome. You're welcome so
Okay.
much.
All right, everybody listening, you know how this works. So Laura and I are going to keep chatting with my patrons. We're going to do some extra questions for them only. We're going to get a little bit more personal, ask Laura about Laura. If you want to listen to those, hop on to patreon.com/Townsend T Music. That's how we keep this project and this podcast going. So hop on there. If not, we will catch you next time.
If you'd like to hear the rest of this interview, visit patreon.com/Townsend T Music. And don't forget, you can also watch the interviews on our YouTube channel at Townsend T Music YouTube.
If you're looking to buy or sell, I have the perfect realty company for you. Clark & Co. Realty is located in the Benton, Bryant, Arkansas area, and they understand that buying or selling a home is more than just a transaction. It's a life-changing experience. That's why their team of highly seasoned real estate professionals is dedicated to providing exceptional, personalized services for all their clients. They truly take great pride in the relationships they build, and they always work relentlessly on the client's behalf to help them achieve their perfect real estate goals. They always have the client in mind, and I can speak firsthand when I say how reliable, trustworthy, and quick they were. When I was looking to buy my first home, they were there with me every step of the way, answering every question I could think of. They showed me a great amount of knowledge and patience through the process. It's no wonder they've won so many awards for their outstanding services and their excellent relationships with clients. So if you're looking to buy or sell, there is no better option than Clark & Co. Realty.